All right, guys, on to Genesis 1:3. I will read the passage twice, and then we'll jump into the explanation. 創世記1章3節神は光あれと言われた。すると光があった。One more time. 神は光あれと言われた。すると光があった。Alright, 解説。神は光あれと言われた。Okay, so this first part here can be translated as God said, let light exist. The traditional let there be light is perfectly fine, but I wanted to choose something that was a bit closer to the Japanese. Okay, so first of all, we're going to look at something that's not in the actual text itself, but it's a word kagikakko. And this is the Japanese word that refers to these things here. Kagikakko. These indicate quoted speech, so basically they're the equivalent of quotation marks in English. So here, the part inside of these kagikakko is what's being quoted. Okay, so let's look at the actual words themselves. So we have hikari, hikari. Okay, so remember that this hiragana here shows that this is unvoiced, so you just hear basically air. Okay, there's no vowel sound there. And then the accent is final high pitch, so you don't hear the drop until you have a particle after it. So hikari, hikari ga, hikari wa, etc. Okay, this is light. A light, like the light in my room, is denki. Denki. Okay? Denki can also mean electricity as well. But in this case, we're talking about the phenomenon of light, I guess you could say, or the not really substance, but the thing itself, light itself. And then we have are. Okay, so are. This is be, and it's the imperative form of the verb. So be as a command, or be as an instruction, etc. Okay, this comes from a verb we've seen already, aru, to be, to exist. And I would like to look at how these are formed for Godan verbs. Okay, so it's pretty simple to make the imperative form of a Godan verb. All you have to do is take the final character of the verb in its dictionary form and change it to the character one space to the right on the kana chart. So, for example, we have you here, which is to say. You is to say in the dictionary form. Ye is say as a command or an instruction. This is very direct. You probably wouldn't want to use this until you have lots of experience with when to use it and how to use it and to whom you can use it. Okay, so then we have kaku, to write. To make it into the imperative form, all we have to do is change the ku to a ke, kake, write, as a command. Okay, hanasu, to speak. Hanase, speak. Tatsu, to stand. Tate, stand. Okay, so very straightforward with Godan verbs. Okay, so that's how we get are from aru. All right, so let's move on to to. Okay, so to is a particle that indicates quoted speech. This is the way you indicate quoted speech in speech, right? So up above we looked at the kagikakko, which is how you indicate quoted speech in written Japanese, but obviously you can't make a sound for these. And so what you do instead is when you're speaking, you put to after the thing you're quoting to show that you're quoting something. And then you have a verb like you, to say. You can also use think, omou. You can use verbs like that as well to quote thoughts and ideas. So it's pretty useful. If you want a hand sign with this one, I think just quotes in English are fine, like to. Okay, then we have the verb iwareta, which means said. This is the past tense of the honorific verb iwareru, to say. Okay, so let's take a quick look at how we can form honorific verbs from the dictionary form of Godan verbs. To get the honorific form of a Godan verb from the dictionary form, you take the final character in the dictionary form and change it to the character in the a column, and then you add reru at the end. Okay, so kaku, to write, becomes kakareru. Hanasu becomes hanasareru. Tatsu becomes tatareru. And remember, we're showing honor to the subject, the person that does the action described by the honorific verb. There is one minor exception to this way of forming honorific verbs, and that would be verbs that end in u. So when you have a verb that ends in u, you don't change the u to an a, you change the u to a wa. So I actually modified the kana chart here. Usually this would be an a, but in this case we changed it to a wa. I'm actually not sure exactly why, but I think it's just easier to say iwareru than it is to say iareru. Could be wrong though. But anyway, just keep that in mind. This is an exception. So all verbs that end in u are going to change to a wa instead of an a when you conjugate to the honorific form. That explains how we get iwareru from you. And remember, once you form an honorific form of a verb, it becomes like an ichidan verb. So any conjugation you do from the honorific form is going to be according to the rules that govern the conjugations of ichidan verbs. So we go from iwareru to iwareta. Remember, we're just changing the ru to a ta for ichidan verbs to put them in the past tense short form. All right, so that's how we get kami wa hikari are to iwareta, meaning God said, let light exist. Okay, so we're over the brunt of the grammar for this lesson. Let's go ahead and look at the second half of today's verse. Okay, so we have suruto hikari ga atta. Suruto hikari ga atta. Okay, this can be translated then there was light. So very straightforward. Suruto, flat pitch accent, means then. Suruto, then. Okay, then we have atta. Atta. Okay, this means was. So this is the past tense short form of, once again, aru. Okay, so we're very familiar with aru by now. Rather than look at the kana chart for this one, it's much easier to just look at a couple examples of how you get this conjugation. Okay, so anytime you have a Godan verb that ends in ru, if you want the past tense short form, you just change the ru to a da. And pay attention to the small tsu here. So it's a guttural stop. Okay, so it's easy to say it all as one word. So kaeru, to go home, becomes kaetta. Okay, one more time. Kaeru. Kaetta. Okay, so to go home becomes I went home, he went home, she went home, etc. Okay, then kiru, to cut something with a knife or scissors or whatever it might be. Kiru becomes kitta. One more time. Kiru becomes kitta. Okay, this is unvoiced here. Okay, next we have karu, to hunt something, like an animal, usually, hopefully. This becomes katta. Okay, one more time. Karu. Katta. Okay, so this is the pattern that we're going to follow with Godan verbs that end in ru. Verbs conjugate differently in the past tense short form depending on the ending of the dictionary form. But rather than look at that now, we're just going to look at those when we encounter them in the Bible. All right, so we end up with suruto hikari ga atta, as then there was light. If you guys want to work with me personally on any aspect of your Japanese, whether it be kanji, accent, conversation, grammar, reading, writing, whatever, I do offer private lessons online. You can sign up for a free 40-minute consultation via my profile. All right, guys, let's take a look at the passage as we have it, and then we'll finish up here. I'll read it 2 times. Kami wa hikari are to iwareta. Suruto hikari ga atta. One more time. Kami wa hikari are to iwareta. Suruto hikari ga atta. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.